But for me, it's something that allows me to use AI in a more tool-based way. Because I can just pick it out of my toolbox and say, I need to go do something. It's like it's like a shovel or a screwdriver, things like that. But I've built it. I've forged my own.
All right. So, Kevin, we're here to talk about Monitor and ArcGIS Monitor and AI and how we at Dymaptic merge these things together into usable things.
Now,
Um,
a couple weeks ago, you and I were together doing another one of these, and we were talking with the Esri folks at the ArcGIS Monitor user group meeting,
yeah, yeah,
and where we showed one of these, two of these skills,
yeah, we did. Yeah.
and we got a lot of questions, not only for our piece, but for the other instances that were showcased there, and we didn't have a whole lot of time to talk through those.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking we take the time here and we answer them. We give
Okay.
people the answers that they were looking for and talk about those skills some more.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it. Because I think one of the things that comes up frequently talking about AI is it feels like it's a black box. It feels magic. And I think the more we can pull the curtain back, so to speak, on the Wizard of Oz, the better it is for everybody. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, but we can pull the curtain back because the one question that was put forth a lot was what is a skill really?
Yeah.
Is it MCP? Is it local code that Claude uses to query an API? What is a skill? So we started that discussion, but
Yeah.
how can
And
we
I
best answer that for the folks that were watching?
yeah, and I think for me, the easiest way to think about a skill is it's a set of instructions. It's a manual to do a task or a set of tasks. So it can be like um, I could have a skill to do a code review. I could have a skill to publish a feature service. Or I could, in our case for Monitor, I could have a skill that can generate an analysis view,
Yeah.
right? So it's a repeatable manual set of instructions that the AI can follow, but it still needs input from you. Like you still have to tell it what you want, but it's going to use that skill to produce the correct output or produce the right result. I think that's the thing that gets me is like it's always it's a set of instructions or reference material that get you there or get the AI there, right? Because
Yeah.
AI, right? It's a really good intern. It's really smart. It's quite capable, but what makes it successful is giving it enough information, much like an intern, right? Or any of us. I mean, to be totally fair, uh, the thing that often makes the difference is giving each other enough background on
Yes.
the task at hand to be successful. And the same thing is true for AI. We just call it context. Um, and so that skill is a way for us to pass very specific, repeatable chunks of context between us to be able to reuse it.
Yeah, and I think those skills is those instructions and the tasks that we're handing off to that intern. And then we're also taking our experience. That's where we come into play with these skills and implementing them as the lessons that we know already. That
Yes.
trial and error from
Yes.
previous attempts and what that was like and what didn't work. What did work, the good, bad, and ugly, and things to not do is don't push the red button, please, and be very specific about that. And for this to help go back and answer that question, we didn't create an MCP here. Those are two different things
Yeah.
versus
Yep.
MCP. This could have been an MCP, which is Model Context Protocol.
Model context protocol. Yeah. I would define MCP as a special type of API that is designed for an AI to consume efficiently.
Yeah, and we define everything. It's not, to me, an MCP becomes kind of locked up. It just provides you those tools, like this skill equated to being a farm, a farm tool or a hoe or a spade, and so we're allowing that to be shown. The MCP gives you a box of tools that you can use, but you have no idea what's behind those tools. Where our skill is, we know what's in it, and we know
Yeah.
how it gets called.
And I think it's important to point out that specifically our skill that did well, I guess both skills, um, but specifically the one that generated the report, it actually called ArcGIS Monitor endpoints
Absolutely.
to get data. And all we did is we gave it, I think, PowerShell scripts in this case to show it how to do those queries, and we give it the ability to turn credentials into tokens so that it can go off and do that. And an MCP helps with those things. It can make it simpler to integrate with an AI, but I think it's important to know that you don't have to have that, right? One of an AI's core capabilities is writing code, whether that's a little bit of Python or PowerShell or whatever, um, any of those types of things. So an AI can query an existing API just fine. You don't have to wait for an MCP in order to do these AI automations and these AI generations. I think it's an important distinction. MCP can make it easier, especially in a restrictive IT environment. But fundamentally, you don't need an MCP anymore. Like that used to be the way everything needed to work. But these models have gotten so capable of just being able to generate code, to write their own processes, query their own endpoints. Like you don't need that MCP anymore to be productive.
Right. And the thing, I don't think we talked about this, so getting behind the curtain is the skill we made, we didn't write the PowerShell scripts.
Yeah, right.
Claude wrote the scripts. We didn't write it. Right. It just was the
It's
refinement and the idea.
some like AI inception happening, right?
Yeah.
We're
It
guiding
wrote
the
itself.
AI to build the skill, to use the skill, to do the thing, to
And then kept telling it over, nope, that wasn't it. So another question was how was the skill created, and how do you teach or improve it? So that's what we used Anthropic's Claude.
Yeah.
And it made itself. And it all started from an idea. It started from a repeating task and some things that questions weren't quite sure exactly how to answer. And so we created it one in Claude with system prompts, but then started saying, well, hey, I'm going to give you the sample analysis views, for instance, and just say, read these and tell me about them. And that's no kidding, is tell me what you see in here, because I already knew it was in there. I knew what the layout looked like. I wanted it to tell me. And so it would say things, oh, I see there's a column structure, there's a layout, I see there's a width, there's a height, there's all these different things. And say, okay, well, you see that, now make your own. And
so when we're talking about you going through this process of building a skill to building a skill that is capable of generating an analysis view, right?
Mhm.
You started by giving it example analysis views, giving it ones that already existed or that you had designed yourself, and asking it to look at those.
That's right. And that's the best way to start, is take examples. And we did, we said this is just, you have to keep iterating through. It's a loop until you get it right. And then all of a sudden it will click. There's no, oh, this is going to be the last one. It just clicks and you're, oh, here it is. This is it.
So it's a little bit like reverse engineering, right? You're giving it a bunch of examples about how to format that text. And the AI, because it has read the internet, let's just call it that, it has a lot of background information about fonts and sizes and colors and things like that. So as long as the views follow some kind of pattern, you can give it enough examples for it to understand that pattern, then it'll be able to generate that JSON.
Yeah. And it did. I want to be careful about reverse engineering, because we weren't taking apart the monitor database or anything like that.
No. We're all we did was we're giving it examples to follow, because
building the examples.
That JSON's not actually documented, is it?
I think when we were doing the Q&A in the session, someone asked this, and we did answer it because it was real quick, but is it Claude-only? And it's not. We touched on that a little more, but we can talk more about it here. Is you could use anybody that has an API to the background of their AI, or with a skill work.
Yeah, you can use a skill in any AI that supports the skill format. And really, a skill format is a zip file that has instructions and then code examples in it. It can actually just be instructions. It can just be like a markdown file with instructions. But usually it's a zip file that's been renamed, and inside that zip file is an instructions markdown and examples or other relevant documentation the AI can choose to read um, in the course of generating the output. And so like GitHub Copilot can follow a skill. Um, I think there are lots of other tools. It does have to be it does have to be an AI that can run from your computer, right? So that it can do things local on your network, like call, monitor, REST endpoint, for example. So it does have to be like that kind of agent, like a Claude Code or a GitHub Copilot agent or a Codex agent. I think Codex will also speak a skill file. Um, but even if it didn't, if you were just trying to use something that didn't use the skill file, you could open the skill file up yourself and give it the pieces.
Yeah. There was another question that I skirted around, and I said I don't know. I say that a lot, you know that, Chris.
Yeah, well, you know.
And what the question was is, isn't shoving all the monitor data into AI expensive? How many tokens did it take
Oh,
during the QA session? I have real numbers for this time for this
oh,
answer.
you got
I have
actual
real
numbers.
numbers.
Okay, well,
I have
lay
real
them on
numbers
us.
in dollars.
Let's do it. Give us
Yeah.
dollars.
So our analysis view was about 7,800 tokens, and that was the dedicated versus shared instance usage.
Okay.
7,800 tokens, and the cost equated to about $1.32.
Okay.
I have thoughts on this.
Okay.
The health report, a 4-day summary,
Yeah.
focus on shared versus dedicated. That was our health report. That was
Yeah.
about 17,000 tokens, which makes sense. A lot more words.
Lot more and a lot more querying of data, right? It's doing a
Yeah.
lot more querying along the way.
And
Yeah.
this is interesting. Maybe we dive into this a little bit here. But the cost of that was only $1.01.
Okay.
So a little bit less. The tokens were higher, but the cost was less. So combined, you're talking under 250.
Okay.
Here's some of the thoughts. Well, actually, extra information. This was the Claude Opus model
Yep.
and the high reasoning effort. So those items could come up or down, but your output could waver a little bit like that.
Yep.
The bulk of it wasn't the monitor data, it was the skill. So that information and the skill coming through and being processed.
So it's a little bit of a fixed cost because that skill has all that information in it every time.
Every time. And that could be something where you can go back and kind of refine those things and try to see what you can do to get it down.
Also, just if you're at home experimenting with this, I just learned this lesson again last week on a different project. Going in and running a tool like this, a skill like this, switching to a lower model like Sonnet. You were using Opus, right? So
Yeah,
switching to Sonnet doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be cheaper
oh,
because
right, yeah.
Sonnet might spend more time working on it because it's less capable. And so the costs might get close to even at the end, and Sonnet might actually take longer. So like it might cost a little bit less, might cost like 90 cents to $1 or something like that, but it's going to take twice as long. And so you got to balance all of this out. You got to kind of experiment with it to see what gives you what you want for what cost.
I'll give you, this is a choose your own adventure.
Okay. What you got?
We have a question about AI, clients, AI and their data, or how does the AI actually produce a meaningful analysis? So you want to talk about data security structure or the analysis output?
Let's do security first.
Okay.
I think.
So the question that was proposed is,
yeah,
do your clients worry about AI touching their data?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I worry about that too. Here's another example that I think is a little bit simpler to kind of discuss is trying to generate metadata about a layer. If I say, hey, Claude, generate metadata about a layer called Census 2026, it's going to be like, okay. And it's going to give me a paragraph. And I don't know, is it going to be right? Probably not. Think about what I just gave it, right? I literally just gave it the title of the layer. That's not sufficient. So I'm going to have to explain to it what it is that layer is supposed to do. Or I'm going to have to give it the schema. I'm not giving it the data in that case. I'm just giving it like the fields and their names and aliases, data types. That's pretty good. But if I give it the ability to query that layer, then it's going to be a lot better at producing those results. And I think the way to think about it is like, Kevin, if I asked you to make metadata about a layer, but I said you're not allowed to open the layer. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the difference is the AI will try.
You can't be mad at it for producing subpar results. And I think the same thing applies in Monitor. The more access you give it, the more likely it is to be successful. Now, I will say when you're giving it access to Monitor, you're not giving access to the data. You're giving it access to the metrics. So like how often is it queried? What were the error rates? How often does it error? What are the status? You're giving it access to all that stuff. We're not actually letting it query the data in that sense.
We're not. We
My
are
feature
giving it
suite.
server names, and it could
Yeah.
connect to network topology and things like
Yep.
that. Now,
I think if you're willing to pay for the AI, which you should be because that's how you get the better models, then you should just turn that off. Turn off the training. And like if for Anthropic, if you have a Teams account or an enterprise account, which is what you are if you're going to be part of an organization that has it, right? You're not going to use a personal Claude account. If you're using a team account or an enterprise account with Anthropic, it's training is off by default. So you're opted out. If you're using an API key, that you're opted out. And they only keep what you send it for 30 days, and they only keep it to analyze for abuse or misuse of the API.
How does the AI actually produce a meaningful analysis, not just pretty charts? What makes a service slow? Network storage or settings? Okay, this is the part that makes all this worthwhile. The charts and what we see in that analysis view, that is the pretty part. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
The interpretation is why this is the part, right? Oh, it set me up perfectly. That's why we're here, not for Claude to do that, because we've seen these systems. We know these systems. We see those inside of Monitor.
Yep.
They're specific to our system. And I'm gonna keep going back to the shared versus dedicated instances. We've asked it to show us that because we have an idea, we have an inkling that there's something not quite right with these services. Either I've used it personally and things are, why is this so? Or you're starting to hear from people, man, Kevin, on Thursdays, this thing isn't right. Something's going on. Oh, okay. Well, that's because Thursdays, Claude wasn't going to know this, but I am. Thursdays is when the city council meeting is. And that's when the planning review board is happening. And that's when they're looking through our parcel data. And that's when there's a lot of panning and there's a lot of people at home watching on the webinar and they're looking through these things too. So you've got an increased usage not only by staff, public, and kind of extra staff that wouldn't normally look at it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's why we're seeing this thing pop up on our analysis view on Thursdays.
So keep going. Sorry, I had a soapbox I want to get on. Go ahead. Keep going.
Don't let me.
Well, my soapbox. You just outlined exactly the use case for AI.
Right.
Right. The AI augments you. It helps you generate this analysis view so that you can get to the part that you like are good at, and that's the judgment, the determination, the figuring out what it is that's going on. Just like you said, the AI isn't going to be able to correlate that there's a city council meeting on Thursdays, that's what's driving this thing. I mean, maybe with enough search capabilities and enough, nope, keep looking, Claude, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's a useful side effect of the AI in some cases. But generally speaking, the AI is there to make us more efficient, but it's our jobs to think and use our brains to do this judgment, to do this analysis, this understanding, this figuring out of what's happening. The AI is there to support us. And I really like that use case the way you described it, because that's kind of the goal for me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to get to the point where I can use AI to pull this information out so that I can make a better decision. And I'm going to not spend 2 days trying to find this information. I'm going to spend an hour finding the information and thinking about it.
And so that's the meaningful analysis. You still have to be involved and make those decisions, but it can help bring your focus in if and only if you have asked the right questions, you've built your lessons, you've given it proper instruction to get that information out. Because I'm not afraid to admit it, but there's some Claude things I've done where I'm like, oh wow, that was not even close. And I look back at it and I think, well, that's because I did a very poor job of asking what I wanted to have come out of this. And so it can produce the meaningful analysis. So we got a couple more. What's the impact on system resources and how does it scale? The impact is very minimal.
Oh, yeah.
Really overtaxed Monitor, even the local system.
And we talked about the dollar it costs, to run it. So.
And then let's see, somebody asked, where does the data actually live? Do Oracle versus SQL Server differences matter? The data lives in the ArcGIS Monitor database.
Yeah, I think that it's worth talking about this for a sec because the data is broad.
Yeah, it could
We're
be
not
anything.
reading your feature services here,
Nope.
right? That's off wherever. That's a hosted service. That's Oracle. It's SQL Server. It's Postgres. Whatever. It's whatever wherever. We're not reading that or touching it. Claude doesn't have access to it. What we're reading is the monitor database, and we're doing it through the monitor API.
Yeah.
So that's what we're reading. We're reading monitors the data.
Yeah. And so monitor, for those that haven't dug into it, when you do the install, as you install Postgres, that's where all that data is being stored. It's in a Postgres database, wherever, if it's alongside the server, if it's on a separate machine. It's not SQL Server and it's not Oracle in this case. It's Postgres. And the last one that we had gotten was, is the ArcGIS Monitor API even documented for the newer versions? It is not. So we are undocumented. We're in uncharted waters. I don't see it changing.
Claude doesn't care.
Yes, there's that.
I guess if in the old days before AI, we would worry about things like, oh, when they change the API, we're going to have to rewrite all of this and it's going to take a bunch of time. And are we worried about that? And so that we used to have those conversations, but now for scripts like this, the consequence is negligible. I mean, if the API does change, Claude's probably going to figure it out on its own and let you know, and then you go and work with it to refine the skill to get the right API endpoints or whatever you need to change. I don't want to downplay it. Technical debt is still a thing in the age of AI today, but it's just not as big a deal as it used to be for stuff like this.
And so the original question was asked how we built the skill. So
Yep.
here's a little more behind the curtains. It's not documented, but one place I live, probably more than the Claude console, Claude code console, maybe switch back and forth, is the dev console of Firefox.
Oh yeah, totally.
So when I needed Claude and the skill and the report to understand some of this stuff, I went into Monitor, I went into a collection, I went into a view, I went into trying to think some of the other metrics and the alerts, and I captured the call and I gave Claude the entire call, and it was able to figure out all the parameters. And I will tip my hat. This sat around in the Esri Monitor community forum, so go there. You need to look up things. I'll do a plug. There was a post about authenticating to ArcGIS Monitor through the REST endpoints.
Okay.
That post caused all of this because I went, that's exactly what I needed. It didn't occur to me to even try. And so that post is there. It tells you how to do the authentication. That's one of the things I fed into the skill is when it was being created. So there's a little more behind the curtain. So how this was all made is all that stuff. That blog post, that's documentation. It's just as good as having the official. That's documentation. So we have answered all the questions.
Hopefully. We answered all the questions. Okay.
We've hopefully answered everyone's questions.
Okay.
And I would say that if somebody still has questions, they should give us a shout.
Yep.
And we can do our best to answer them in some way.
Send us an email or message us on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Or find us at a conference.
Thanks for everyone that watched on the initial user group meeting, and thanks for those that have taken time to watch this or read the transcript and get questions answered. Appreciate it.